Good day, everyone, and a warm welcome to The Going Concern. The Going Concern, a fortnightly talk show podcast where we answer your questions. Every 2 weeks, we hang around these microphones to talk about all your wonderful questions of issues, which include the wacky and the wonderful. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Patrick, a chartered accountant and owner of an accounting firm called Boffix, and a Quickbooks certified trainer with a fancy new logo. That Quickbooks chap on the internet. And as always, I'm joined with my co-host, the one and only Rachel. Rachel, how's it going?
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Aaron. My name is Rachel. And for those of you that don't know me, I am a TEDx speaker. I am an author, a business owner, and most importantly for today, I am an accountant. I am the founder of ACCOUNTANCY and director of Strivex, which is a wonderful, if I say so myself, female-led accountancy practice. We've got another cracker in store for you today, but first, let's figure out how it all works. So we are live to the world at our regular time of 12:30 UK time every other Thursday. So if you're listening back or watching back to this on demand, why not think about joining us live or subscribing to our platform so you can get notified and get involved with the show while we're live using the chat box. So this show really is here for you guys. This is an access all areas juicy gossip session with Aaron and I, where you can ask us anything. We are now also live on the podcasting services around the globe, so feel free to subscribe on your podcasting service of choice. So super quick overview of some of the questions we've had sent in for today's show. And I've got to say again, you guys never ever fail to disappoint. We've got questions ranging from Amazon, Etsy, business advice, and banking. Aaron, I'm opening the mailbag. Are you ready for the first question?
I was born ready today. Absolutely born ready. Go on, Rachel. Let's get that first question underway.
Okay, so we could literally talk from now to the end of the show on this one. I'm sure I can, or you definitely can. What advice would you give to an accountant or bookkeeper who has just started their practice?
Oh, what a question. And especially now as well. I don't know what the timing's all about, but I have been asked this question. This will be now my third question this week of why I've been asked that one. So a bit of a bit behind the scenes. I've had a couple of case studies going our way with the wonderful accounting manager in ICAW. And this question has popped up a couple of times on them as well. And each time I'm going to go down and keep a nice, concise one. But the one bit of advice that I've learned over this time is all about when you set up in practice and when you are putting yourself in practice, you're going to have to sit down and figure out processes and systems and how it's all going to work, because there's a big difference between you being an accountant for another firm and having, doing tax returns or accounts or VATs or whatever it is you're doing and following the systems as they've put in place, to you being responsible for your client's statutory requirements and therefore wanting to make sure that you've got good systems, good task management, good solutions in place. So ultimately you don't drop the ball, because that's the worst thing that could ever happen. And one thing I've been thinking about really lately and how I think I would start again if I was going to start again, or at least how I would advise someone to actually set up themselves, is that when you are going through those systems, going through those solutions that you're putting in place, you need to always be mindful of the fact that at some point this is going to change. You are never going to put a system in place now it's going to last for the end of time. And you've got to be prepared at each step of those solutions and each step of those systems to be able to think about, okay, how can I add something in here? How can I put something in new? How can I change something that might need to be changed at a certain point? For example, for us, we are constantly reviewing the way that we onboard a client. So the idea that we don't want it to be, it's horrible, isn't it? Like, no one wants to go through that process of being a client for a typical accounting firm. It's nightmare. There's so many steps that need to be completed. And that's not us being, harsh or us being, nasty. That's us actually having to follow the rules and regulations that we've got to follow. Yeah. But there is better ways to do it. And there are better ways where we can make it easier on our clients and easier on people to come on board. And we've changed it so many times, and we're still changing it today, and we will still change it tomorrow, and we will do it again in a year's time. I think you've got to be prepared for that.
I didn't get that.
And Sue doesn't get that one. So, so Rachel,
can I ask you a question back? So, like,
go for it.
where's the best place? Where's the best resource? I was actually asked this question earlier this week, so now I'm going to ask you: where's the best place if you are a brand new accountant, brand new bookkeeper, you want to start a practice, you're staring at a blank screen of process notes? What resources are available in terms of process notes for brand new accountants and bookkeepers?
See, I found this great resource, the app. I'm not going to give it. App Advisory. So appadvisory.com, which is basically a website that tells you all. It's like a review website, if you like, for apps that accountants will use. Amazing. And the best thing you can do there is you can literally type in what is your problem, your issue, whatever it's going to be. And there's a community around that that's going to give you apps and solutions for that. Because I think you need to figure out what apps and solutions you want to go with, what works for you, what's going to work for your client base, and then talk about it and talk to community that's involved around the app. You know, if you've gone down the Quickbooks route, there's loads of Quickbooks forums and everything else. If you've gone down the Accounting Manager, there's lots of people talking about that. And finding those right kind of communities is huge, because I promise you, whatever issue you may have, maybe it's how do I send out my direct debit solution out to a client automatically, for example. Someone's probably already asked that question and probably already has a solution in mind for you. So yeah, that resource has been huge for us, and we found that to be really, really useful. But it's one of those things where you've just got to find what apps or what solutions you want to bring into place, and then just start talking. Places like here, Going Concern, QuickBooks Labs, them sort of places. That's what we're here to do. What about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's really easy to see us sat on YouTube doing all of like the fluffy, frilly stuff, thinking that, like, I literally get people ask me all the time, or sort of imply that I actually do very little accountancy work. And again, I think that's why a lot of my content is directed towards like day in the life content, to really give insight into, I am on social media, I do post a lot on Instagram, a lot of it's very fun and lighthearted, but actually, like, that's because I get up at 5 and go to, like, I stop working at 10. And I would say it's all compliance, it's all statutory. Like, if you can nail the solid foundation, everything else follows. And it is difficult, and there's a lot of sort of like FOMO. Like, it's really easy to see us sat here around microphones answering questions, like all of that. And actually, it's the compliance stuff that leads everything, because if you're not able to deliver what your reels are selling on Instagram, there's a problem. So start as a practice, really, really focus on delivering high quality services, and then like everything else will follow. My other top tip would be to network, ask people for help. That's something that is very, very difficult for us as Brits, but ask for help. Worst case scenario, somebody says, no, you won't die. So ask for help, make friends, make allies, make connections, and just get out there and like really, really prioritize that, because who knows, you could end up running a talk show with someone one day.
That's exactly it, isn't it? And you're right. I mean, the buzzword I think that a lot of people talk about there is that client journey, isn't it? And that it's a horrible word, because it brings fear into a lot of people's eyes, and it's kind of one of those things where you think about how horrible the amount of work involved to get that right. But it's just so important. You've got it absolutely spot on. The idea that you could have the best reel in the world, and you could be showcasing the best like social outlet there's ever been, and you could absolutely go viral. But if you don't have that sales funnel and that client journey that's going to ultimately reward a client for coming on board, it's not going to go very far, is it? So you're right, you have to prioritize on that.
So on your app website, we've actually had a question come in from Lucy.
Hello, Lucy.
My lovely Lucy. Lucy has said, what are both of your main app stacks? Good question.
Great question. Yeah, so for me, it's that client journey. So for me, it all starts with when I first take on a client, I would use Hubspot as my CRM solution and my lead generation solution. So the idea there is it's an app that everyone in the practice can jump into. And we like it because it gives us an opportunity to keep an eye on communication. So if clients are asking us questions, they turn into what's called tickets. And then a ticket is basically you responding to that client's needs and that client's wants. You can pass it around to different people. You can prioritize it. You can move it around. The idea of turning, quote unquote, an email or any question that a client could bring up into a ticket, I think works really well. So we use a solution called Hubspot, completely free as well. So if you are looking out there for a CRM solution, couldn't recommend it enough. We use another one, and it moves on from there once they're kind of onboarded and into Accountancy Manager. Accountancy Manager is basically our solution for the client's database. So it makes sure we don't drop the ball, because it automatically generates all our tasks for our clients, and gives them a chance to come in and upload stuff for us, and we can send out information to get signed, that sort of thing. And then it's all about what software we use to deliver the service. So QuickBooks, Xero, Free Agent, all them for our clients facing. And then internally, we use a solution called Capium to prepare some accounts and tax returns and everything else that goes with it. So yeah, and again, it's evolving all the time. Yeah. We are just about to bring in another solution for sending out accounts. We're looking at another solution in actually onboarding clients, so how to get quotes out to them and all this, that and the other. And we use a solution called Zapier to make sure they all talk to one another. What about you, Rachel? What's yours?
So,
great question, by the way, Lucy. Great question.
Yeah, such a good question. We have our own internal pipeline management that we built in terms of tracking leads, understanding who we've quoted for, whereabouts in the pipeline they are, and their client journey, and making sure that we've all got access to the notes, who they are, what their Instagram handle is, like really telling us who that client is, and where on the journey they are. We quote using Better Proposals, and if I could be, I would be sponsored by Better Proposals. I absolutely love it as a solution. It has hugely increased our conversion rates, revenue sources, being able to track it, giving us the right data. It really is incredible. From there, once they've accepted their quote, we officially onboard them, and we also use Accountancy Manager. Again, fantastic service. Means that you never miss a deadline. Really, really good oversight from a manager's perspective over what your team are doing. They have also just released an Outlook integration as well, so you can track all client comms, get that all pulling into the same place, so that anybody who's working on that client can have oversight into who, where, what, when, and why the last contact with that client was, to make sure everybody's in the loop all the time. In terms of the client's perspective as well, when they officially become a client, we have our own app, which has lots of calculators on there, contact your accountant, upload documents through the Accountancy StriveX app, which clients absolutely love. And then, like Aaron, from there, we onboard them. We deliver free one-to-one training sessions whenever we take on a client on their software of choice. So for us, that is generally QuickBooks or Xero. And then from there, it's everybody's really happy. We just communicate and sort of answer questions as and when the business owner needs it. And then we also, in terms of statutory work, we use TaxFiler.
TaxFiler? I did not know that. Ooh. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to say too much, but I assume, is that kind of because that's what we used in your old positions?
No. So we were, where we were before was actually a digital practice.
Oh, yeah. Okay, stay away. Yeah.
And I think you need to remortgage to engage with digital now. We actually really love TaxFiler.
That's a good solution.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on TaxFiler? That was quite interesting.
My only disadvantage of it is the fact it's not cloud-based, and we had a requirement for cloud-based. What TaxFiler is now? It wasn't when I first looked at it. So so it's cloud-based. All right. Okay.
We do not like desktop. We don't do anything desktop.
That's good. Yeah. Definitely desktop. In fact,
that's such a good question, Lucy. Thank you so much.
Excellent question. Well done. Nice one.
What's next?
All right. Next question. And this is down to the point, this one. What have you learned the hard way? Rachel, you're up.
Oh, good question. Sometimes the internet is quite a negative place. I think I learned that the hard way. I definitely have been a bit upset, like on Zoom with Aaron a couple of times. And again, having really good supportive people who have gone through the same journey as you around you is really, really helpful. And being able to talk about it with people that you feel comfortable with is helpful. And we were talking about it the other day. We posted a reel with all our staff members in it, and it was really lovely and positive, and it prompted a conversation in the office, because we are hiring again. That the last time we spoke about the fact that we were hiring, I received a DM saying, like, stop bragging about it. And I think navigating the internet as a business owner is something that a lot of people a couple of years ago never had to face.
Yeah.
And that's quite difficult. I think that's probably the hardest thing for me. The business is so personal to us, like it's family and it feels like family. The community that we're trying to create online also feels like family. So when somebody really quite strongly comes at you, it can feel very personal because you put so much of yourself into the content. I told Aaron this morning that like up until recently we had like 100% likes on our YouTube channel, and someone like has gone through all of the YouTube videos and hit the dislike button. Aaron's response was like, oh my God, you've made it. You've got a hater. This is incredible. Which is what the response should be. And it's so lovely to have such supportive people to be around you, talking to you all the time. And that definitely helps sort of like lift things up. What about you, Aaron? What have you learned the hard way?
Yeah, and before I say that, I think the other thing to point on yours is that it makes you more relatable. I've said it to you before, haven't I? It's like, especially with a lot of your clientele and your client base, they're going to have the same issues. They're going to have the same problems. They're going to go through the same. And everyone now in business is going to go through it. Like, we're encouraged to put everything we do on socials to try and make it so that, you know, we are relatable, so we can make it easier for us to sell our services, because we want to be liked as who we are. That's, people buy from people. So we have to put our name out there. We have to push ourselves and we have to put it out there. And that comes with negativity. Yeah. But everyone that we speak to, every client that we bring on, every, you know, person we speak to on these sort of platforms, everyone listening here is probably going to have the same issues, the same problems. And sometimes it's almost a little comforting just to know that other people are going through that as well. And I think that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's the fact we're not alone. Everyone's going to go through the same. Okay, some people have it worse than others, and we've got to find a way to regulate it. But we all know that it's just part and parcel of being in business these days. So yeah, we'll all figure it out one day together somehow, maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed.
And it's really easy as well. Like, I remember the first time we spoke about it, I received so much love in comparison to the hate. Like, I get DMs from people that say they've passed exams because they've watched YouTube content. I have people that say they've taken the next step in terms of becoming qualified or doing an extra level, or they wanted to give up and they haven't. And all of it just goes whoosh, and you're just like, why is this person disliked my video? And it's crazy, and you wish you could tell your brain to just like apply perspective, or like just to be able to fix it like it was a formula. Like, in percentage wise, it just is so incomparable, but the energy that you put towards it is so far the other way, and it's so difficult. Like, has anyone ever said, have you ever had any hate online?
Oh yeah, a lot, but that's but that's part and parcel of it, isn't it? And it's the vocal minority, isn't it? Like, you know yourself, if you've just watched a great episode on YouTube, most of the time that's it. You've just appreciated it and you've walked away. Maybe you'll drop a like on, or whatever it's going to be, and very rarely you'll go and put a comment on as well of how great it was, because we appreciated it. Like, we've watched it, we understand it, and that's what most people will do. And I just think there is that tendency that vocal minority will be like, this is rubbish and blah blah blah, and why did you say this, and cut your hair or whatever it is.
Like, if you're commenting on someone's YouTube video, especially we're accountants. Do you have something better to do than to look at accountants on YouTube and then have a go at them? Exactly right.
So it is what it is. But what have I learned the hard way? And this is another one for that whole discussion about what advice I would give an accountant this started, because for me, and I don't know why it took me so long to understand this and why it took me so long, but when I first started the accounting practice, it was every client through the door we must take on, and we must make them a client, because that's how we're going to survive, and we need this client. And you bend over backwards for particular clients, but you've got to learn the hard way. Like, it's okay for you as the accounting firm to say, look, you're not right for us. Like, go talk to these guys or whatever it is. They are much better suited for you. And learning that the hard way, and understanding that when you are looking to take on a client, it's a two-way street. The client's got to find confidence in you, and you've got to find that the client's right for you as well. And if you don't make that decision, you don't understand that, then you will just end up fighting it the whole way, and it will just, ultimately will never get the experience you want it to be, and it will always be a slightly negative, or there'll be issues or whatever it's going to be, and it's all down to doing that due diligence at first. So yeah, we learned the hard way that when we're looking to bring on a client, it's a two-way street, and we need to make sure, and it's more for the client than anyone else, but we got to make sure we're doing the right due diligence ourselves.
It's about gut feel as well, isn't it? It's like when you've been driving a while, normally through the hardware, you develop that gut feel, like when someone's going to pull out, or you'd see on the roundabout someone's just going to not give way. You develop that gut instinct, and in order to get there, it takes people to pull out on you when they shouldn't, or like drive in a certain way that makes you think, they're going to do something. And it's just the same. It very, very rarely is your gut wrong. And I'm an ISTJ personality type, and so I'm quite like fact driven, and so it's not default to me to trust my instincts and my gut. And actually I've had to like sort of go to volume mixer and increase the volume on gut and decrease the volume on like statistics, and really trust my gut instinct over anything else. And I'd say that is my biggest bit of advice, is trust your gut as a business owner, because whatever reason, and sometimes you never know the reason why you feel that way, you'll never be wrong. And it might take a day, a week, a month, a year, you'll be right.
but it falls really well into what you were saying before about, this is your practice, is your baby. It's, you're really proud of what you built, you're really proud of what you're doing, and you're really proud of the community that you're building. And there's no point you trying to force every single person into that community. Like, they will, and it's not that you're pushing them away because you don't want to deal with them or they're not a good client. It's that you're just not right for that particular client, and it's right to say, and it's okay to say that. And it's, there will be an accounting firm that will be perfect for them. Maybe it's because they're local and they can literally walk down to them every day, or whatever the reason's going to be, and you've just got to accept that. And I think the quicker you accept that and understand it, and just go, look, I'm going to concentrate on building the right community for that and the right type of clients. I think it's such an important pill to swallow. And I hand on heart, it took me too long to learn it, but finally I got there.
And it is something that you do learn the hard way, and normally it involves a lot of heartache, sometimes a lot. Like it is really difficult.
Exactly.
And when you do treat it so personally, that's a very difficult thing to handle, because normally it means that a relationship hasn't worked for some reason, and that's quite a difficult thing to do when you want it to be for everybody, and actually sometimes you're not for everybody, and that's okay.
That's it.
The next question's quite different to this one. This one's quite a practical question, so
go for it.
The next question is, it seems like my bank keeps disconnecting from QuickBooks. Sometimes it says it's reconnected, but the transactions just don't appear. How do I fix this? The QuickBooks chat, we're over to you.
So this isn't just a QuickBooks issue. This is for any piece of software out there. And basically, we all know that if we connect our bank to our bookkeeping software, we get a world of benefits, and it's amazing, it's lovely, it's wonderful. It just makes our life so much better. And if we compare it back to what it used to be, where we had to sit there actually typing things in from a bank account, then it's far, far better than it's ever been before. That being said, and the problem that we have here is that we've gone through a bit of a change in legislation, and there's this new thing called open banking. And open banking itself is designed for a good, and it's designed to help make sure that if your system is connected to your bank, it's done the right way and the correct way. And there's no way there's going to be any issues, any problems, any loss of data or any fraud or anything like that. So we're right to go down this new legislation, which is called open banking. And it means that if your software wants to connect to your bank account, they have to go through a certain way. The problem is that banks they've had a ticking time bomb for a while now, and that ticking time bomb has now over. And you'll find that if your bank isn't complying by this new open banking standards, then you're going to have disconnects, you're going to have issues, you're going to have problems. It probably won't even connect anymore. And also part of the open banking, and to protect you guys and the users, is that every 90 days you have to reconnect and confirm basically that is legitimate and that piece of software should be talking to that bank account. So yeah, it's frustrating because it's not perfect for the end user, because it is, is annoying that we have to keep reconnecting it.
Yeah.
But I think everyone's just got to remember it's not QuickBooks Zero, Free Agent, Sage. The list can go on. Issue, or I suppose it's their issue, but it's not. They're not doing it to spite people. It's just that open banking requires everything to be reconnected after 90 days, and if you're not open banking, you now can't connect. So that's what the problem is. So yeah, it's frustrating, but we just got to understand it, and then when we understand it, we just got to make sure we have some sort of solution or some sort of fix in place. So for us, we'll just remind our clients every 90 days, please connect, please reconnect. And these days as well, just so people are aware, the best way to reconnect normally is just on your mobile. Get the app out, whatever app it is, press connect. Normally it'll just switch over to your banking app and you can get it done in seconds that way. What about you, Rachel?
Yeah, no, exactly the same. And again, like if you are not a client, you're actually a practice owner or thinking about being a practice owner, again, it just comes down to communication. Clients only get frustrated when they don't understand. So it's not actually the problem, it's not understanding the problem. So it's just about communication. So if you are sending out newsletters or communication to your clients, it is just worth mentioning at the moment what the changes are, so that people are expecting it. Like you say, they understand why. If they understand the why, they can absolutely react to it. If they're confused, they just say, compute says no, I'm like, can't do it. Yeah. So communication.
Exactly. And I think certain banks are really helping as well, because I don't know if you know or if you've experienced it, but Starling's taken a whole new approach to it and really, really like the fact that it's not just the QuickBooks or the Xero or anyone else pointing out that this connection is about to expire. Starling's doing the same and giving you the opportunity to just do it there and then. And the more banks that can kind of take on that sort of approach, I think it's going to be really, really beneficial.
100%. So what's next?
Okay, so next one, we have a question. And we got another very particular question here, but I'm sure, Rachel, you're going to absolutely smash this one. So if we're selling on Amazon, eBay, Etsy, etc., we don't need to worry about the VAT stuff. We don't need to worry about the VAT stuff with a question mark. Why are they responsible and not us? And if it's something we need to prepare for, what do you recommend us checking? This is quite a nice one, isn't it?
Good question.
Very
so
good.
the way that I explained it to somebody yesterday, there's actually a junior member of staff that I was chatting to. Within online selling, online platforms, and online retailers, quite often the bigger firm wears the VAT hat. And it means that they are in control of charging, reclaiming, reimbursing VAT on your behalf to their customers and doing all of the fiddly twiddly bits behind the scenes. In some instances, the VAT hat then gets taken off the Amazon, let's say, and put onto you as the business owner. It then becomes your responsibility to report, collect, and repay the VAT. Amazon. I just called Aaron Amazon. Aaron is the VAT man when it comes to Amazon, Etsy, and online retailers. Again, Aaron, like, how can we help business owners navigate this and understand when the hat is taken off and when the hat is put on?
Yeah, I think the first thing, and this is so frustrating when it comes to VAT, because it doesn't matter how much content we put out there, it doesn't matter how much HMRC trying to explain it. VAT is always that one that is the most tricky for clients, customers, business owners to understand, and you can understand why, because I think it's the choice factor, isn't it? At the very beginning, it's the fact that it's not compulsory. It's the fact that, if you're under £85,000 of turnover, you don't have to be VAT registered. And I think that's what causes so much confusion, because it suddenly becomes this whole, you're either, you split your businesses down into a percentage. You've either got VAT registered ones or you haven't got VAT registered ones. And clients and customers and business owners, I think, find that choice really difficult to comprehend. But it is a good thing. It's, it gives you a chance as a growing business to be able to step away from the complex world of VAT and just concentrate on what you're doing. And hopefully, fingers crossed, to every business owner out there, at some point you will become VAT registered and have to deal with the pain, because that just means you're growing, and that just means you're going in the right direction and everything that comes with it. But yeah, eBay, Etsy, Amazon, you're absolutely right with your point there. They're the ones who are controlling the VAT scheme, and they are controlling VAT, and especially if you're doing it outside the UK. They've got systems in place and ways in place in which if you're selling to EU, for example, with all that complication that's there, they just simplify it for you and they just deal with that element for you. And that, again, is a good thing. It's what It's going to help you be able to put your products on that platform and have confidence that you're selling those products at the right price, and you're not going to get caught up in any of the problems that can come down the way. The problem that you will have, though, is for them to be able to sell those products at the right price and be able to look at it and be able to put that or be able to sell those products without any further complications. They're going to ask you questions about VAT when you may not be VAT registered. And that, again, causes so much confusion, because people or business owners, they'll see that this, they're being asked suddenly for the first time ever what VAT percentage they're applying to this particular item. And the thing to remember is the only reason eBay, Etsy, Amazon, whoever it's going to do is asking that question is because if you do sell that to EU, they've got to add the VAT on top of whatever that's going to be. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to be pricing your items out that, your £100 item is, you're saying it's actually £120 and then VAT has been put on top. You're going to just price yourself out. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a whole raft of reasons why eBay, Amazon, and Etsy are asking you VAT that they may never have asked you before. But just make sure that you're being honest about, or you understand what your thing is. If you're not VAT registered, then you just tell Amazon and eBay that everything you sell has no VAT on it, so there's nothing to worry about there. But yeah, it's a complicated world, and we will continue to put the drum out there and try and put as much content as we possibly can. But it is something that, if you are looking to go into the world of accountancy, be prepared for that confusion, because it's going to happen on a regular basis.
Yeah. And again, as a small practice, it's really about having, for us specifically, we've tried to make certain members of staff really become very knowledgeable in certain areas to make sure that everybody really, really does understand it. So we have a VAT man, we have the Moss boss. We're really sort of trying to make sure that people have specialties and niches, and rather than everybody knowing everything. Quite often, as you're growing and scaling, customers' needs change, and actually sometimes that doesn't work. So really making sure that there's a specialist or a go-to person that can point you in the right direction is really important as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Rachel, what is the next question in our mailbag?
Righty. Someone has asked, I'm all for automation, but sometimes it doesn't make things simpler. Certain products do some of the job, but not all of it. And then you need another plugin or another tool. How do you keep it organized and not oversubscribe to too many tools? Good question.
Very good question. Very good question. And you know what? It is one of those things where you're going to have a different opinion depending on what type of business you're trying to create, what type of, how you want your life to be. Because some people love automation because they love the fact that it's giving them that opportunity to be able to automate certain things to make their life easier. But other people find automation just something that really they can't deal with. The stress levels are too much in terms of getting it set up in the first place, and then what if it goes wrong, and they lose that element of control. So I completely understand where people are worried about this, and they are they see the problematic elements of it, but I think we're just in a really strange time at this point in time in terms of technology and the way that we are, and the way that we are adapting to the new ways in which we're being asked to work. And it's just that, as much as the automation is really useful and really powerful and really straightforward, we're still at a point where, because most of our apps that we're dealing with and the solutions that we're working with are independent of one another, and they don't have native ways of talking to one another, then I think that's ultimately where a lot of the confusion, a lot of problems, a lot of the people can see that, the time saving hasn't been made because the connections haven't been done properly. And I think over time, a lot more of those things will fix, and a lot more things will go well. And the best example I can think of is when I first started dealing with little small cafes and talking to cafes and trying to make their life easier. It was, okay, well, let's think about not just having a simple till system, but let's try and have an iPad that you can take orders on and you can take card payments from and everything else. And when we first had those conversations, it was, well, that's great. We've now got this system that we can record all this stuff for us, and you can take card payments. Your business is going to grow, blah, blah, blah. But now it's evolved to, well, why don't we take that information and automatically put it into QuickBooks? And How about feeding it through from there? And those elements were around before, but it was jumping through a lot of hoops to get to it, and it was costing the client a lot of money. But now majority of the solutions out there have integrated and seen that having a connection to QuickBooks Zero, whatever it's going to be, is an essential part of their offering. So now they build it in and it integrates perfectly and everyone can see the benefit of it. Whereas before it was, you could see the benefit of it, but you'll have to fight a lot to get there. And I think using that analogy, you'll see that there are a lot of ways in which automation can help and automation can be best and be great for people and businesses. But we're in a really odd time at the moment where some integrations just work perfectly and they're streamlined and they're wonderful and amazing, and others aren't quite as tight and as on the ball as them, and they need that level of experience and need that level of expertise to be able to get them there. So yeah, I completely see where people are seeing it, but ultimately everything's going to be automated at some point. Well, majority of our work is going to be automated at some point. So we've just got to accept it's coming, but maybe push back when it's not perfect and just be ready for, trying to learn those little bits as much as possible, because it is going to help small businesses, it is going to help the bigger businesses, and it's going to help accounting firms as well. So what about you, Rachel?
I'd say my top tips for automation and mapping out workflows or journeys of either data or customers are a couple of different things. I say first thing first, zoom out. Write down the process, write down what currently happens, write down the journey of either the data, the customer, whatever it is. Try and stay as zoomed out as possible and be outcome driven. What is the outcome? Is it doing it as fast as possible, or is it doing it as accurately as possible? Quite often they're two different things. Once you've done that, it's sort of much easier to find solutions rather than to get so focused on the nitty gritty. It's quite difficult.
Agreed.
Second bit of advice would be always remember that it's fluid, it's open to change and improvement at any given time. And if it is something like a customer journey, you should be asking for feedback at every opportunity. So ask every new client for feedback. Again, that sort of lowers, it really opens up really honest, and rather than an individual dealing with a big business, you become person to person. And by you saying, we're constantly trying to improve our onboarding process, what was your experience of that? They then sort of oh, you're asking my opinion. It becomes really nice. But actually, that's when you get really, really valuable feedback. Sometimes the best feedback comes from the people that it didn't work very well on. So if ever something in your process goes wrong, those are the people that you need to ask for feedback. So if somebody went with another firm, you need to be asking why. Quite often, they get nothing out of replying, so sometimes you won't get an answer. But it's where your process falls down that the best feedback, advice, areas for improvement come from, and those are the best. And sometimes they're the most difficult people to ask, but those are the most important. And finally, ask for help. If you don't know what to do or you can't find it, ask people. Clients ask me all the time, how can I connect this to this? Or do you have another client that's ever connected this to this? Or I'm an Amazon retailer, I'm about to go onto QuickBooks, what's the best solution? Because very often, as accountants, as business owners that work with other business owners, we've pretty much seen nearly every integration possible. We can tell you what works, we can tell you what doesn't work. So asking for help is very important as well, because having one conversation could save you 2 hours on Google, and I'm all about that. So asking for help, again, for the second time today, asking for help is very, very important.
Rachel, sponsored by Asking for Help. We've got a great follow-on question from Lucy, so we'll move on to that. But I think my pro tip for what you've just said there in terms of mapping it all out is a solution or a software called Visio. And there's other ones on the market, that's just the Microsoft one. But I highly recommend it. Completely changed the way that we offer a kind of consultancy, and we talk people through their mapping their data and how we can automate things. And it's just a flowchart system. That's all it is. And there's Lucidia chart. There's other ones on the market that you could use as well. But yeah, just having a solution where you can map that out, you can write that whole process out from start to finish. And like you said, zoom all the way out, completely change the game. Because in your mind, in my mind, when I'm when someone asks me a question, I go all giddy and I'm like, oh yeah, we can just add this and this. And you're talking a completely different language to some people at times. So having that opportunity to just step it back, look at it, the process, and being able to present that as kind of, it's part of your solution. It's what you're trying to build for that person, is a huge benefit, I think. So yeah, Visio, Lucidia chart, any flow charting system. I suppose you could even just do it on Excel if you want to, but have that solution in place and you'll find it'll work so much better.
Yeah, amazing. So Lucy's follow-up question was, what do you both automate in your business? My answer to that would be everything. We automate a lot. I'd say the most relatable aspect of the business that we automate is billing. Everybody has to do billing. All of our billing is completely automated, not only from the invoicing that happens, but also the collection. So we collect by direct debit. That all happens sort of behind the scenes without us doing anything. Again, the bills get created from the accountancy manager software into the billing software, into the client receiving the invoice and the billing being collected. What about you, Aaron? What do you automate in your business?
Yeah, again, everything. And I take great pride in the fact that everything's there. But mainly what we're focusing now are, like you've already said, and it's that pain points, and we're trying to figure that out because, we've been able to make some really great automation. For an example, for us, our task solution when it comes to bookkeeping is I built it in-house in terms of, if a client takes on bookkeeping and we actually have it shown on their invoice that in this month they are having bookkeeping from us, then that is automatically connected to our task building solution, and it will automatically dish out tasks based on how much bookkeeping they wanted for that particular period. And having automations like that means that you're providing the expectation for the client, like the client's paying for XYZ, so you are providing a service that is XYZ. And that was our kind of golden standard of, right, it works so well for this, how else can we start looking at the rest of the business? How can we find ways? And again, pain points, how do we find pain points that we can make easier for not just ourselves but for our clients? And that client journey word again, and bringing that in, because for us, we know that when we take on a client, I know frustratingly, I know your systems. I know that you've already kind of got a solution for this, but when we take on a client, we can't, or we couldn't automatically say, right, let's send them the Go Cardless link, the direct debit solution. So we constantly had clients who were signing up, but weren't actually signing up with a direct debit in place.
Yeah.
And with a tweak of our system, suddenly all of that pain goes away, all of that issues go away, and we're in a much better position than we were before, where we could be 2, 3, 4 months down the line and we're clients who are building up debt and they don't even know about it because they didn't realize that the direct debit solution was not up and running, or whatever it's going to be. So it's little things like that.
Lucy said you can create free workflows charts on ClickUp, which is really, really nice if you like to see
good choice. Yeah, no, that is a really good choice. Yeah. ClickUp, Lucidia chart, and if you do want to pay for it, then Visio. But no, let's go for the free one. And I know someone in this room definitely prefers a free option.
Amazing. So the next question that we've got is, and this is the penultimate question, is what if you want business advice from your accountant, but they don't seem to understand the industry you're in very well? Should you give them time or find a new one?
And see, this works very well to what I was trying to say before about, don't force clients and accountants together. There are plenty of accountants out there. There's plenty of clients out there. And realistically, when it comes to value added, you want to find an accountant that understands what's going on in your industry. And that doesn't need to say that is a bad accountant that doesn't know your industry. It just means that they're not potentially going to be right for your business and moving your business forward. So, you say let's give them some time, but that's not what their niche is. So how much time can you give them to realistically be able to give you, your business, the right sort of information to actually make your business grow and give you the insights that you need. So now I'm all up for finding the right accountant, and it could be because they work with this software solution that you really want to invest in and use, or it could be that they're right for that industry that you're part of, and it just if you find the right accountant, then it's not a case of how much that accountant costs or anything else. It's about what value they add to you, and that's what it should always be about. So what about you, Rachel? What would you say?
Yeah, I think having somebody that really understands the industry very well, it is really important. For you as a business owner, it's important to feel heard, listened to. And something that we've experienced is we take on a lot of work from people who are brand new business owners. And there's so much anxiety around that, not only from a business perspective, but from a finance perspective. If you are, for example, a creative person and numbers don't come naturally to you, you need to know that your accountant has got your back, is covering off your deadlines, will be up you, chasing you to get everything submitted on time, and to really not only prepare accounts, but to come back to you with suggestions. So if we work with somebody in a certain industry and all of the other clients that we have in that industry are putting through a certain sort of expense and it's missing on this one, we'll then be able to say, do you not have any expense? And it could be that the direct debit's coming from the wrong place, or it's just not been captured. And there's so much like tax efficiency associated with having an accountant that understands the industry. But then again, from a business owner perspective, we all start somewhere. We all start with a client portfolio balance of 0. And it's really important I'd say my number one top tip, if you're just starting out and you don't have many clients, but you really want to, honesty is always the best policy. And actually, like Aaron said, some relationships just are destined not to work, but there are things that you can do to really help them. And honesty is a really big part of that. So when you're working with somebody from a specific industry for the first time, it's really important to say, like, just let you know you're actually the first client, that's based in Scotland, for example. We've had that before. You're the first client we've taken on that's based in Scotland. A lot of the principles are the same. We are insured and licensed to operate with clients in Scotland, but I just wanted to let you know that actually you are the first. If you're setting the expectation on that, whether it's the first person in that industry or the first person that uses a certain kind of software, if you've set the expectation and you've been really honest from the beginning, the relationship's starting on the right foot, and very often that is the best thing to do. And if after that they decide they need somebody that's an expert, at least you've been honest. But then again, if they do decide to continue, you don't have the constant anxiety that they're expecting you to be something that's like 3 levels higher than where you are. But then after that, if the engagement proceeds and everybody's really happy, you then have them on board, you can work with them, and then next time you're pitching for the same bit of work, you can say, yes, I can. But again, we all start from somewhere. Honesty is always the best policy, and it's how the best relationships start. So definitely recommend transparency is key.
Yeah, and we've said this a lot of times on the show, haven't we? It's one of the things we harp on about. But as accountants going forward, we are giving all of that opportunity for due diligence to be put on our faces, on our what we know and who we are, because we're on social media, we're active on there, if it's YouTube, Instagram, whatever it's going to be. So you as a business owner now have the best opportunity to understand if that accountant gets it. Like, you've seen Rachel's videos or reels, or whatever it's going to be, about how she understands, the questions that are being asked. And if they're the sort of questions that you are asking, and you can see Rachel answering those questions in a comical manner or whatever it's going to be, then that's got to be a good thing. That's got to give you confidence that she gets it, or I get it, or whoever gets it. And that's so important. And I think that's where businesses really do have a great opportunity now to find that right accountant, find that right person. And like me and Rachel always say, it's about building that community. And are you the right person to come into our community and help others that we've got? And it's them sort of answers that we can talk about and go for. And I find that now, when I'm going through the new clients, and we're talking about new clients, we don't have to go through explaining who Bofix is anymore or anything like that. Most people have come through because they've seen our content, they understand who we are, we've got that trust factor. So it's then, right, how can we help each other? Like, what can we do to make your business? And that's what it's important. And they're the sort of questions that should be asked during the initial call. That it's not about price or anything at that point, at the initial call or the first of it. It should be about what do you want to achieve and all that stuff. And if those questions are being asked, then you've got confidence that that's the right accountant for you.
100%.
Final question then. It is my question, isn't it? I'm
Yes.
not stealing yours. I'm a counsellor, but pivoted to digital remote sessions through the pandemic. I'm looking to pick up some clients internationally now, but I'm unsure of the best and cheapest way to receive payments. Is PayPal my best option, or are they others? This is a very poignant question, especially for what we talked about pre-show. Rachel, take it away.
So I definitely say when it comes to payment platforms and receiving payments from abroad, it's important to think about what your priorities are. So for some people, the priority is it being the cheapest solution possible. For others, it's about the safest or the fastest. So sometimes cash flow is more important than how much you're actually being charged. So first things first, I would really encourage you to consider your priorities and then make a decision from there. I think historically PayPal has been a really big go-to, but before we came online, we were actually talking about platforms like TransferWise, which we actually have members of staff who have family members abroad, and they actually use TransferWise themselves personally. What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, I love the fact that the industry is itself, or at least, business has opened up so much bigger. So PayPal is a huge benefit for a lot of people because it's so quick, it's easy. Stripes are available. Most digital platforms now will have an opportunity for you to be able to make sure from a tax point of view that you're dealing with the taxes correctly. And then we've got all our challenger banks as well. So what I like is how much option there is. So we've got a lot of clients, or even I use Revolut because, they've just completely get the fact that you can move money and you can hold money and you can drum up different currency accounts and everything else that goes with it. And, those sort of opportunities and things means that for a lot of businesses out there, there are going to be so many different options for you. And as Rachel's already said, just ask the question of what your peers are doing, because there's going to be an opportunity there for them to say, look, we're using XYZ, it's working for us, and it's going to be the best solution that we can have. So PayPal may well be the best solution, but you've got so many options out there that it's a good time to be trying to deal with these sort of payment options and gateways and everything else. And I know for a fact that there's innovations coming as well. So QuickBooks announced at QuickBooks Connect that they're going to be bringing out a Pay Now button where it will basically mask your bank details, so someone can do a direct bank transfer for you securely and without any issues or problems. And this is all about blockchain and bringing that into the masses and everything else. So the future's bright, and there's going to be a lot of options out there to help you going forward. So good luck with it. Hopefully, fingers crossed, your business absolutely flourishes because of it.
Amazing.
Right, I think that is it. I've got another hour flown by there, Rachel. It's getting a little bit scary, isn't it? So thank you, everybody, for your questions, and thank you for everyone who has joined into our live chat. If you're listening via podcast, don't forget to follow us on our social channels so you can get and join us live on our future episodes, which reminds me, Rachel, when are we back?
We are back on the 26th of August, which is 2 weeks today. In the meantime, if you have got any burning questions, don't forget to submit the questions via the link, which I am about to pop in the chat.
Fantastic. Rachel, finally, have you got any videos planned for this? I'm going to be, let's start again. I'm going to be honest here, because of the manic of today. I haven't seen today's video, but I will be watching it. I can't wait to sit down and watch that video today. Do you want to talk about that one and any other videos that you've got planned?
Yeah, of course. Aaron came on pre-show and said that he thought this week's one was really, really juicy. So today's video that we released is how I built 12 streams of revenue in 12 months. Been busy. Next week's video is all about really deep diving into one of those streams of revenue. So we're talking about how much we earned from our first month on Airbnb, being Airbnb hosts. In the meantime, we're recording some really cool content with a financial advisor to get all of your questions answered and to give you insight into what working with a financial advisor as a young person, a young woman, is like. What about you, Aaron?
Well, I've recently just did a studio tour. So we'll see how that goes. We
saw the setup. It was amazing.
So we'll see how that goes. But no, I'm looking at all the different software solutions that we're using in the practice. So I'm Accounting Manager because they've just done a nice little case study on me. So I'm going to go make sure that I return the favor. I'm going to say how wonderful I think Accounting Manager is. And also I'm going to go and look at our software account solution called Capium, or Capium, I think they like to be called. I've never figured that bit out yet. So I want to go deep dive into them too. So yeah, I'm going to go very much away from the QuickBooks bandwagon at the moment and look at some other solutions on the market that work hand in hand. So it should be good. Rachel, I think that's it. Another hour flown by. Another 2 weeks gone. I can't believe, to be fair, these 2 weeks are coming thick and fast, which is a little bit of a worry, isn't it? We'll be saying that Christmas word soon, won't we? It's not far away, is it? All right, Rachel. So with that, it's just a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Great chat today, and hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye for now.